Welcome to everybody joining us today at this webinar. I would also like to take this opportunity to give my respects to the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we are all participating in this webinar today. The local government elections 2021 are one of the biggest events to be held in New South Wales this year. It involves more than 5 million electors, more than 200 pre-poll venues, over 2,000 polling places, and the engagement of an additional 20,000 people from the communities, your communities, to assist us in delivering these elections. As I said, this is likely to be the largest event to be held in 2021 in New South Wales. And in the current circumstances in which we all live, it's also an election which we are determined to hold in a COVID-safe manner. The purpose of these candidate webinars is to help political parties, candidates and scrutineers to participate more fully in this important event. We will give an overview during the webinars of the process and procedures for nominating and campaigning, and compliance obligations surrounding election funding. But having said that, I must stress that these webinars are provided to give guidance and awareness only. Each of you have your own individual circumstances, and we are not giving legal advice in relation to those circumstances. If you have a matter where you believe it raises in matters of interpretation of the legislation and your own legal circumstances, please obtain your own independent legal advice. Our aim is to deliver these elections with transparency, fairness, and in the current climate, a safe, healthy environment for you and the people of New South Wales to exercise their democratic rights. So again, welcome, and I'll now pass you back for the rest of the webinar. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome to our Candidate Information webinar for the upcoming local government elections. Today we'll be walking through the early voting and voting options available to our electors. I'd like to take this time to introduce myself. I'm Amber King, the Nominations and Electoral Material Team Lead. I'd like to acknowledge that we are hosting this webinar from the lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all work today, and the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people participating in this webinar. I pay my respects to the elders past and present, and we celebrate the diversity of the Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the land and waters of New South Wales. Now, for today's webinar, we will be taking questions and we will be responding to them at the end, towards the end of our session. So if you do have any questions along the way, please log in to slido.com and use the hashtag LG21elections to ask your question. And as I mentioned, we will be walking through those questions and responding to them towards the end of today's webinar. If you experience any technical difficulties, please SMS 0408 039 679 for some assistance. The New South Wales Electoral Commission has held a series of webinars in the lead up to the local government elections. These webinars have covered a range of topics, including enrolment, nominations, electoral material, online voting, which we refer to as iVote, and all of our presentations are available on our New South Wales Electoral Commission website. If you'd like to view our previously held webinars, please visit our website. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website not long after today's session. Now, through today's webinar, we will cover ways to vote at the local government elections, which include postal voting, early voting, which is commonly referred to as pre-poll voting, iVote, and voting on election day. We will also discuss COVID-19 safety measures that are being put in place, scrutineer opportunities and candidate workers, and resources that are available to you. Now, I'd just like to provide an overview of the local government elections and where we're up to. Now, at the local government election, we will elect 1,152 councillors. We have 33 mayor and 226 councillor elections that are contested following the close of nominations. 23 of our contests are uncontested. There will be 8 councils that will conduct a constitutional referendum, and 1 council will be holding a council poll. We had 3,865 candidate nominations accepted that will be contesting these upcoming elections. The New South Wales Electoral Commission will employ more than 20,000 temporary staff for election day. We will print in excess of 8 million ballot papers. We will have over 280 pre-poll venues in the lead up to the election, and on election day more than 2,000 polling places. Now, what I would like to do is to walk through the 4 ways electors are able to cast their vote at the local government election. At a high level, I will outline the voting options available to electors and then drill into the detail on the following slides. So from the 26th of October till the 29th of November, postal vote applications are able to be received. From the 26th of November to the 3rd of December, pre-poll voting in person or iVoting is available to electors, and election day is the 4th of December. The New South Wales Electoral Commission will publish early voting cumulative totals on our website during the local government elections. Details published will include the daily totals on the number of electors who cast a vote during the early voting period through attendance voting and through the iVote system. The total number of postal applications and the number of completed postal vote certificates returned will also be published on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website. It is anticipated the following voter participation for each of these voting channels. So we're anticipating we will receive about 5% of our electors cast a postal vote. 5% of electors will vote online using iVote. Approximately 30% of electors will vote via pre-poll. That's the 2 weeks prior to election day. And approximately 60% of electors will vote on election day at a polling place. These figures are only estimates and have been provided for consideration for candidates and political parties when planning their campaigns. So we do estimate over 40% of our electors will vote prior to election day. I would like to highlight that we have had some recent changes to a small number of our venues. So please revisit our website to see our current list of venues and if any changes have been made to your council areas. We'll also be updating the extract of venues available for our candidates on our website. Now, to talk about postal voting. The key dates for postal voting are from Tuesday the 26th of October, applications for postal voting opened. On Monday the 8th of November, mailing of postal vote packs commenced. Monday the 29th of November, the receipt of postal voting applications will close at 5 p.m. This means applications received after 5 p.m. on Monday the 29th of November will not be accepted. After this point in time, an elector is required to vote using an alternative method. And on Saturday the 4th of November, all postal ballot papers are required to be completed. Now, your postal vote pack does not need to be returned until Friday the 17th of December. Okay, so an elector has 13 days following election day to have their postal vote pack returned to the New South Wales Electoral Commission. eligible electors may apply for a postal vote. The eligibility criteria is available on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website, and it's also listed on the postal vote application itself. For this election, the eligibility criteria For this election, additional criteria has been added to allow the eligibility for electors to cast a postal vote, and that includes an elector who is self-isolating because of COVID-19, where an elector believes attending a polling place will pose risk to their or another person's health or safety because of COVID-19 pandemic. Electors can apply for a postal vote online at the Election Commission website. This is the most efficient way to apply. Electors may also contact us on 1300 135 736 and have a call centre operator complete their online application on their behalf. Electors can also apply by sending a paper application in the post. The form is now available on our website. As mentioned, mailing of postal ballot papers commenced the week beginning Monday the 8th of November. It is recommended electors submit their postal applications as soon as possible. Postal vote applications must be completed and received no later than 5 p.m. Monday prior to election day. A change in the legislation to the deadline for the return postal vote certificate envelope has been introduced for this election. This allows electors to complete their postal vote by 6 p.m. on election day, Saturday the 4th of December. However, electors have until 6 p.m. Friday the 17th of December. So as I've mentioned, electors now have 13 days to return their postal vote certificate, including their postal vote ballot papers in the envelope. Now, the change in legislation was introduced to cater for Australia Post reduced levels of postal service. I'd now like to discuss pre-poll voting. Now, pre-poll voting will commence on Monday the 22nd of November to Friday the 3rd of December. Pre-poll voting days and hours may vary from venue to venue. For early voting information, please visit our website. It is anticipated more than 1 million electors will vote during the pre-poll period. Electors must cast a pre-poll vote in their council area for which they are enrolled. There is no absent voting available at the local government elections, so you're not able to vote outside your council area for which you are enrolled. Recent changes have been introduced for the local government elections 2021 only, allowing an elector to vote early in person at a pre-poll venue without having to meet an eligibility criteria. Therefore, for this election we have a 12-day voting period, 11 days for pre-poll and 1 day voting for election day. Now, our previous webinar we did hold on iVote, our electronic online voting, but I would just like to walk through a few of those items with you as a reminder. So recent changes to the Local Government General Regulation 2021 allow for the use of technology-assisted voting known as iVote in elections run by the New South Wales Electoral Commission. iVote is a system that allows eligible electors to cast their vote online or with the assistance of a call centre operator. iVote has been used in the New South Wales state elections since 2011. This upcoming local government election is the first time iVote will be offered for a local government election. Now, the key dates for iVote are that from Monday, the 22nd of November, iVote applications and voting will commence. On Saturday, the 4th of December, election day, iVote applications will close at 1 p.m. and all voting, including iVote, will close at 6 p.m. election day, Saturday, the 4th of December. Only eligible electors are able to vote using iVote. Electors are eligible to use iVote if they are blind or low vision, unable to vote without assistance, have difficulty voting at a polling place or have difficulties reading, they are a silent elector, live more than 20 kilometres from a polling place, will be outside their council area on election day, applied for a postal vote but have not received the postal pack prior to 5 p.m. on the 26th of November 2021. Electors must apply to use iVote, and an elector is able to apply using online or with the help of a call centre operator. During the application process, the elector is required to declare they are eligible to cast an iVote. They're asked to nominate a password and provide the contact details so that they're able to be sent their iVote number. The iVote number and password are needed for an elector to cast their iVote. Now, as I previously mentioned, we did hold a webinar, and that was held on Monday the 8th of November, and that webinar explained in detail the iVote application and voting process, how iVote results are extracted, the iVote system auditing and security, and the scrutineer opportunities. If you would like to know more about the iVote system, please view that webinar on our website and other information regarding iVote. Now I'd like to discuss election day. Now the election day for the local government elections will be Saturday the 4th of December 2021. Polling places will be open from 8 a.m. and voting will continue till 6 p.m. Saturday the 4th of December. On election day, it is projected over 2.7 million electors will cast their vote, and we will employ more than 20,000 election officials to assist at polling places across New South Wales. There is no absent voting at a local government elections, so as an elector you are required to vote within the council area or ward for which you are enrolled. A list of venues for election day are available on our website. A number of services to assist electors both at pre-poll voting and on election day will be available. They include a translating and interpreting service, Auslan interpreters, and bilingual election officials. Now I would like to talk about COVID-19 at the local government elections. The New South Wales Electoral Commission has introduced measures to safeguard the health, safety and well-being of voters, staff, candidates and scrutineers. Given the rapidly changing levels of risk experienced during the pandemic, we will respond to changes in circumstances during the election as they arise. You can view the full New South Wales Electoral Commission's COVID action plan on our website, elections.nsw.gov.au. We will employ the measures we are now familiar with when leaving our homes, and these include checking into the venue on arrival, the wearing of a face mask and use of hand sanitizer. Staff will manage queues and ensure physical distancing is maintained at all times, and we ask that electors bring their own pen. Please do not attend a venue if you are unwell. Staff, electors and political participants who attend election venues during the election have a duty under the work health and safety laws to take responsible care for their own and others' health and safety arising from COVID-19. Additional COVID-19 measures include the mandatory QR check-in and check-out at all of our voting centres, mandatory face masks for all staff, electors and political participants. Physical distancing will be managed at all pre-poll and election day polling places by dedicated staff, and queue management both inside and outside our voting centres. Single-use pens. So electors are asked to bring their own pen. In the instance an elector does not bring a pen with them, the New South Wales Electoral Commission will have pens available at our voting centres. Hand sanitizer will be available at the entrance and exits of each of our voting centres and at the ballot paper issuing points. Voting screens will be distanced and plastic inserts will be added to allow the cleaning of our voting centres, our voting screens regularly, with dedicated staff to assist to keep high-touch areas and surfaces clean within a polling place. New South Wales health posters and messages reminding electors and staff to stay home if they are unwell. Recent changes to reduce the risk of COVID-19 infection and to protect the health of electors, election officials and candidate workers, the Electoral Commissioner has directed the following: that no electoral material is to be distributed or handed out or left in a location that it may be collected by voters within 100 metres to the entry to a pre-poll venue or polling place on election day. Posters can only be displayed within 100 metres of a polling place or pre-poll venue if they are put in place before 7 a.m. on polling day. Posters cannot be moved or adjusted between 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. The new rule only applies to posters on publicly owned areas, for example, footpaths. The polling place is a venue, not the premise. So to clarify, the polling place is the school building, not the grounds of the school. Therefore, the measurement is from the entry to the hall or the school building for which we are using as a polling place. No poster can be positioned within 6 metres from the entry of the venue. Now, this isn't a change from previous elections. Posters can be displayed from the 6 metres from the entry of our polling place or voting centre up to the 100 metres. However, they cannot be moved between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and you're required to have them in place before 7 a.m. on that polling day. Electoral material and how to vote cards cannot be handed out or left within that 100 metres of the entry to our polling place or voting centre. So we have gone through this in previous webinars with you, and that is available on our website. We also have further information that we will be distributing to our candidates and our electors on this. And again, our frequently asked questions have been updated to provide more information to our candidates and party workers so that you are aware of these new rules for the local government election. I would like to talk about candidate workers and scrutineers, and our next webinar will touch on candidate workers and scrutineers again on election day and the role of scrutineers from election day into counting and results. Candidates and party workers act on behalf of candidates and or political parties to distribute electoral material, such as how to vote cards, at a pre-poll venue prior to election day or at a polling place on election day. They are not required to complete an appointment form to engage in these tasks. An appointment form is only required if you act as a scrutineer. The Scrutineer Policy LG 215 is available on the New South Wales Electoral Commission website. Scrutineers must be appointed in writing using the LG 213 Appointment of Scrutineer form. The policy describes the role of scrutineers in the New South Wales local government elections for councillor and mayors, and how scrutineers can comply with the law during the election and the counting of the votes. The policy also aims to make it clearer to scrutineers to examine ballot papers, electronic records and data entry records, as well as providing information on the audit process for electronic counting. The Scrutineer Policy and the Appointment of Scrutineer form is now available on our website. Postal scrutiny and counting will be conducted at the Centralised Postal Vote Counting Centre, which we refer to as the CPVCC. This is located in Sydney. From the 22nd of November, scrutiny of returned postal envelopes will commence. From the 23rd of November, extraction of ballot papers will commence. And this is where the ballot papers are extracted without the inspecting of the votes. They will be stored in securely sealed cartons, which will not be opened or counted prior to 6 p.m. on election night. And on 17th of December, the scrutiny and extraction of postal ballot papers will be completed. Now, if you do have any questions you would like us to respond to from today's webinar, please join at slido.com and use the hashtag LG21@elections. And as I mentioned, we will now start to go through those questions. I'd like to ask Andrea Summerell, Director Election Operations, to join me today to respond to some of your inquiries.
Thanks, Amber.
Hi, Andrea. So we've got a lot of questions that have come through.
Yeah, it's good.
So the first question is, can unvaccinated people attend a polling place on election day, the 4th of December?
Yes, they can. So both vaccinated and unvaccinated people are able to cast their vote in a pre-poll centre and a polling place regardless of their vaccination status. So that's also echoed in the public health order, which has now made reference to voting as an obligation that all electors must fulfil legally.
Yep. And an unvaccinated person is able to vote in early voting or on election day,
That's correct,
just
yes.
like all electors. Okay, so the next question we've received. Can we wear a lanyard with the size of an ID passcode on election day outside the polling booth? The lanyard will have my how to vote on it. Now, Andrew, my understanding is no, you're not able to wear a lanyard. It's the same as you're not able to wear a poster within the 100 metres of a polling place with your how to vote. You are able to have a t-shirt on, you're able to attach or display a poster within that 100 metres, but you're not able to hold up a how to vote or hang something off you.
That's right. So it has to be, a poster has to be in place prior to 7 a.m. So this would be a similar, understanding that the material can't therefore be introduced into that environment less than 100 metres within those hours of voting. But a candidate worker can stand within 6 metres and 100 metres and wear a t-shirt, as you say, and talk to electors, always maintaining that physical distancing.
But if they do want to distribute electoral material, they can be at that 100 metre mark, which our election officials will step out at the commencement of voting each day, whether it be pre-poll or election day, and they'll define that space for where you're able to distribute your electoral material.
Yeah. Election staff will have that information of where that 100 metre parameter sits, and they'll work with candidate workers on site.
Yeah. Now, with regards to pre-poll, do you need to vote in your ward or anywhere within the whole council? Now, I think it's a matter of you will need to look on our website to view where you are able to vote. And the website has functionality that will tell you specific to your address and your enrolment where you can actually cast your vote.
And I would say that in most local government areas there will be a pre-poll and a polling place venue that does issue votes for all wards of that local government area. But as you say, the best thing to do to make sure that you're going to be able to vote when you attend those venues is put in your address into our website, and it'll tell you exactly where you can vote, which may include multi-ward polling places or pre-polls.
Okay. Now, an extra Newcastle pre-poll venue was added to the New South Wales Electoral Commission website today. Voting starts in 4 days. How is this fair to candidates and their supporters? Now, Andrew, I do believe there has been some changes, a small number of changes to our voting centres. That includes both pre-poll and polling places. Now, some of those changes are not in our control of the New South Wales Electoral Commission.
That's right. I mean, there's a number of factors here, Amber. Our venues team have been working really hard to secure those venues that we need to be able to support that large number of people that we're expecting to come out for early voting and on election day, and that has meant in some circumstances that those venue arrangements were later than expected. And as such, we're providing those last updates now. But obviously, we have been trying to get the venues that we need to support those number of electors. And particularly with COVID, we're mindful to not overcrowd our venues. So yes, there have been some changes, some late changes, but unfortunately, that's what has occurred. And we're now making sure that we communicate out that those venues are available, and everyone should be checking our website for the latest updates.
And as you say, Andrew, we do believe we're kind of at that point now that our venues are all but finalised, and we hope that that doesn't have any further impact. Okay, how will the New South Wales Electoral Commission be advertising the locations of polling booths, particularly where they have changed from their regular location? So with regards to actually advertising the polling booths, we emphasise that an elector should hop online and view where their polling booth or their pre-poll location is and where you are able to vote in your local government area.
Yes, that's correct. Everyone should pop onto our website, put in that address, and it will give you the list and also a map to show you exactly where those locations are.
Now, our voting team, though, our venues team does spend a lot of time researching our venues, and where possible, we do obviously try and maintain the same venues.
Correct.
To avoid our confusion for our electors.
That's right.
Okay. If a call flute topples over because of the wind and someone is accidentally injured as a result, does the AEC provide insurance to cover any potential claims? Look, the onus is on the candidate to ensure their call flutes are, affixed or in a safe place. And mindful that they're not put in a place where they could potentially fall over due to wind or cause injury to an elector or a participant or anyone, in fact, within that local government area.
Yeah, Amber, look, what I would say is that election officials, obviously, we do some regular checks outside the premise, and if we saw that something had blown over and it was causing a potential hazard for electors, we would move that item out of the way. I don't think, we won't make any comments in relation to insurance cover, so I don't think you and I have any the information available to answer that question further.
No, that's right. Okay, we have to have posters, etc. in place by 7 a.m. Will the 6 metre mark be marked out prior to 7 a.m? Look, the 6 metre mark, the election PPM will be at a polling place from 6:30 in the morning and define the 6 metre and the 100 metre rule. The 6 metres I think is quite something you can step out, and you could use your tape measure if you're not comfortable that you know what the 6 metre mark is. I think this isn't a new rule, and it is something we haven't had a problem with the 6 metre mark in the past, and I think if we use our common sense, we can identify what 6 metres are from a polling place, and from that point onwards you are able to put your posters in place prior to 7 a.m. So the next question is, can we please define what a poster is in terms of size, material, etc.? The reference to the legislation or regulation to justify this definition. Look, on the top of my head, Andrea, I don't have the reference to the legislation or the regulation. With regards to the size of the poster, you're able to make your size of the poster whatever size you like. However, you do need to be mindful that councils may have rules in place that may restrict the size of your poster to, I believe, 800 square centimetres, so which is your general call flute size. But the New South Wales Electoral Commission doesn't have a restriction on the size of the posters for the local government election.
And what we could do if this person who's putting this question in up on our Slido today, I would suggest if they could just send an email to our candidate help desk, then we can get that accurate reference of legislation to be able to answer that question fully. So the email address, if anyone wants to send that through, Amber?
Is candidates@elections.nsw.gov.au. And I do believe if you were to look at our frequently asked questions on our website, it is a question we were asked in the electoral material webinar as well.
Okay, great. So there might already be some of that information on our website, but yeah, please feel free to send through any questions where you want some more specific information.
That's right. Now the next question is, can A-frames be set up 600 of polling? Getting conflicting. I'm not 100% what we're being asked here, Andrea, but A-frames can be set up at our polling places. They just need to be set up prior to 7 a.m. on a pre-poll or a polling place on election day. They have to be outside of the 6 metre entrance to our voting centre. And they're not able to be moved if they are between the 6 metres and the 100 metres of each of our venues. But you are able to put A-frames up or posters. Alternatively, if you don't have them in place prior to 7 a.m, you can put your A-frames up outside that 100 metre zone.
That's right. And if we haven't quite answered that question, please do send through an inquiry to our candidate help desk.
Now, when can we put our signs up at pre-poll?
Well, at the moment, I know that a lot of candidates have already got their posters in place around council areas. So there's actually no legislative limit as to when you can put it up. So I imagine a lot of people for pre-poll will be putting their posters around town. But otherwise, you're going to put that up prior to the 7 a.m. voting. And then, it can't be moved or adjusted until after voting ends that day.
Now, just on pre-poll, pre-poll does commence from Monday the 22nd, so next Monday, but not all of our venues are open for that whole 2-week period. So again, if you visit our website, you will be able to see what pre-polls are in your local government area and actually see what are those opening hours and days for your pre-poll venues. So in some instances, there will be at least one in every council area that's open for the entire 11-day window from the 22nd, but there may be some, depending on the elector turnout and the demand, that will be open for a shorter period, which may be 6 days or potentially less. So you are able to view the website so that you are aware of when voting does commence at your pre-poll venues. Okay. Will New South Wales Electoral Commission staff monitor signs between 7 a.m. and when pre-poll voting starts at 9:30 to ensure they are not moved or damaged by others? Look, the New South Wales Electoral Commission will be managing the voting centre, pre-poll venue, and they will be ensuring that, coming out, doing regular checks outside our voting centres to ensure that posters aren't being moved or affixed. But Andrew, we aren't going to have a specific staff there to ensure that posters aren't being damaged. And we hope that, candidates and party workers respect each other as they have in the previous elections with regards to people's material.
That's right. So we have limited resources available to us, but there will be regular checks in relation to compliance. So we're making sure that all of those posters, that they've been fixed and that there's not adjustment happening within that period to I guess, mirror those directions that have been given. And we'll also have some compliance team members of the New South Wales Electoral Commission monitoring that and visiting some sites as well. But it is as you say, it's not someone's full-time job to do that, but it will be a regular check, as they always do, and come out and speak to those candidate workers about making sure that everyone understands the directions that are in place and that everyone is following those.
And they'll give that reminder as we go through the day.
Yeah.
Okay. So when the polling booth is on the council boundaries, will residents be able to vote at the closest booth to their residence? So Andrew, I think you touched on this about multi-council polling places a little bit before.
So there definitely are some situations, and this is based on previous voter history, where there will be a venue where it is close to a boundary of two councils, that they may be appointed by the Commissioner as a multi-council voting venue. And in those situations, it will allow a person to, from either local government area to be able to go in and cast their vote at the one venue. But my, I guess, message to all electors is to make sure that you do those checks on our website, put your address in our search engine, and it will say where your closest booth is for your enrolled address. And it could be that it is located in another local government area. I think we have around 100 or 120 multi-council polling places on election day that will be servicing more than one council.
So I suppose the message is that we should visit our website to ensure, the New South Wales Electoral Commission's website, to ensure we do know where's the right place to go that you can vote within your council area. So plan your vote. So you're saying a person can't hold something the size of an ID card because it is a poster. Please define what a poster is. Okay. So we're saying within the 100 metre area that you're not able to distribute electoral material, you're not able to have a poster, and I think we have gone through this in our previous webinar. So it's not specifically to a poster, but you're not able to distribute or hand out electoral material. And so what we're saying is you need to affix that or put that in place, if you'd like it in place, within the 100 metre entry to our polling places. prior to 7 a.m. If you'd like to hand something out or have something available for somebody to be able to read, that you need to do that outside that 100 metre zone for which will be defined prior to voting each day.
And what I might suggest, Amber, there's some great FAQs on our website in relation to a lot of these questions around posters and A-frames. So if people visit our website, they will see a number of FAQ questions all around display of material, distribution of material, and also the new 100 metre direction. So if it's not clear with the information that we've provided today in the webinar or in the previous webinars, then that FAQ might be your first port of call. And then if it's still unclear, a question to our candidate help desk, or give our candidate help desk a call, and you can have someone speak to you directly.
Yeah, so we have been obviously addressing your questions as they've been received over the last couple of weeks, and we have been updating those frequently asked questions that you mentioned, Andrea. So to provide assistance to, to everybody and make sure that everyone is aware on what those different parameters are for which you are able to campaign for these upcoming local government elections. And we will continue to update that as, in the instance we need to provide further information to our candidates or party workers. Okay. So I think we've touched on this one as well, like, Andrea. Are you saying that a poster is any material a volunteer is holding, from a post-it note to a billboard? So I think what we're saying is, I think we're focusing at the moment on poster, and the direction is that you're not able to distribute or have, within the 100 metres to the entry of a polling place. And we're saying if you want to have something that's available for electors to view within the 100, it needs to be affixed and put in place, and is not able to be moved.
Yes, that's right.
Between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Okay. Alrighty, so the next question down is, will there be scrutineers at each pre-poll booth every night? Now, scrutineers are available, and our next webinar we will be going into more detail about our scrutineers and their role in counting results from election night and through the weeks following as we continue our counting process. Scrutineers are able to be appointed to both polling places on election night and to the returning officer's office after election day, or to any of our count centres by their candidates. And they're able to attend each day to oversee any of the counting activities that do occur.
And I'm just trying to maybe see what this question is trying to also point out. So, the adjustment of any posters or material can't happen between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. But if an adjustment needed to be made, there is no issue with a candidate worker coming in after 7 p.m. to make any adjustments to their posters if that was necessary, as long as it's done and been adjusted before 7 a.m. the next morning.
Okay. And if we didn't quite answer that question again, please don't hesitate to contact us. So, are you allowed to put posters on telegraph poles? I have noticed that this is happening in our area, however I was informed I could not do this. The New South Wales Electoral Commission is not responsible for the power poles. Where posters are placed, it's up to the candidate, and the onus is on the candidate or the person placing that poster to seek approval to display your posters.
So I guess in the relation to telegraph poles, you would have to seek the necessary permission to place material on a piece of property that, whether it's owned by the Crown lands or otherwise, or even like a private property. So you'll see sometimes that people place posters on a person's private property or in a restaurant, and that would be the candidate's onus to go and seek the necessary approval to have that in place.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're starting to go through the same question again. Look, I'm happy, this one's exactly the regulation is that you can't hand out, but you're saying that your volunteer can't have a flyer on a lanyard that isn't handed out. Look, I think we've explained our position and the direction from the Electoral Commission. Again, please contact us directly, and I'm happy for the Candidate Help Desk to walk through this with you. We have updated a lot of information on our website based on our last webinar, and where we have received inquiries about, can I wear a T-shirt? And we've advised that you are able to wear a T-shirt and you're able to have something on. You're not able to wear a poster that's not being distributed on you. You're not able to hold a a how to vote but not handed out within the 100 metre. And we do have a lot more of that information now available on our website.
Because I think it's two main parts to the direction. There's the distribution of electoral material, which must happen outside of 100 metres, and then there's the display of posters or how to vote material, and that can occur within 6 metres to 100 metres, but it must be in place before 7 a.m. on a day of voting.
And Andrea, I think it's important to remember the reason these provisions have been put in place, and it's to try and ensure that we maintain a safe, environment.
That's right.
For both our workers, the electors attending to vote in any of our venues or visiting, but also our candidates and their volunteers.
Yeah, and we want to ensure that when electors are going to that voting venue, that they, that the ability to maintain physical distancing and avoid any crowding is wherever possible maintained.
Now the next question is, we're relying on voters to have internet competence and availability. How will we let other voters know about the rules of polling places? So look, our information is available on our website. We are communicating with all of our candidates and our participants via other channels as well, and information will be available at our voting centres. So we do have guidelines that will be provided to all of the candidate workers or volunteers, as well as scrutineers or anyone who does attend a voting centre, to make sure that, the message is the same and that they do have that information available to them on their attendance at our voting centres.
And I think we've got two great call centres that can also support electors and candidates on being able to get this information in a way that's not via our website. So we have our General Elector Inquiry Centre that is in operation, and so people, staff there, if anyone's got any questions, a voter wants to know more about accessing their polling place on election day and what that might mean, or how they access electoral material. But we also have the candidate help desk, and Amber, you have a number of staff that are working on there and answering lots of questions for both electors and candidates. So there, I guess, are the two options that are also available that don't rely on someone accessing our website.
That's right, and we've also put additional signage up in our polling places, Andrea, to help, again, inside, to make sure that both, people are aware of what's available to them and or what the direction is of the New South Wales Electoral Commission.
And our local election staff and our local returning officer are also available if local candidates or electors have questions.
Yeah, and they'll be going out and doing a welcome at the beginning of each day, but they'll also be going out throughout the voting day, whether it be pre-poll or whether it be election day, to reinforce that message and to make sure that anyone who has arrived throughout the day, or there's been a change of, shift, that they are aware of those rules that will be in place for the local government elections. Alrighty. Now, Andrew, we've reached the end of our questions.
Great.
So thank you. So we have one outstanding webinar in the lead up to the local government elections, and again, I have touched on this, but this webinar will be held on the 30th of November at 11 a.m, and we will be walking through the roles and responsibilities of candidate workers, scrutineers, and the results. So the results will be from election night and the weeks following election until such time that our candidates are elected. We do encourage you to invite your volunteers or any person that may be assisting you at pre-poll with the distribution of electoral material, or potentially on election day, or acting as your scrutineer to attend that webinar. We will be providing further information about their role and give them an understanding before they go into our voting centres of how they can participate in the election activities. So the registration for that webinar is now available on our website, so we do encourage you again to do forward that to anyone that will be assisting you in your campaign. And if you do have any further inquiries, we haven't quite answered your question, please do not hesitate to contact us on 1300 135 736. You're also able to contact us through our Contact Us page on our website, or alternatively to the candidates' email, which is candidates@elections.nsw.gov.au. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website, I'm hopeful, later this afternoon. If not, it should be there by tomorrow morning. Now, following the completion of this webinar, you will receive an email requesting your feedback on today's webinar. If you could take a few moments out of your afternoon to complete those questions, it is greatly appreciated and it does help us plan going forward with our webinars and the information that you may find useful or how you would like us to do things differently going forward. I would like to thank you for joining us today, and we do hope you found this webinar useful, and look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thank you.